Hi everybody, my name is Allana and I am so excited to be showing you how I created this makeup look. This is my everyday makeup routine for winter. So if you wanted to see how I created this makeup look, please keep on watching. Now, especially going into the winter when our skin is dry, every good makeup look has to start with hydration. So I'm gonna start with a little skin prep using the Summer Fridays Jet Lag Skin Soothing Hydration Mist. And I'm just gonna take a nice wash of this all over the face just to, I don't know, soak my skin in moisture before we begin. And then one of my favorite products of all time is the Embryolisse Creme Concentre. It's their multifunction moisturizer. I used it on my wedding day. It's one of my favorite base products to go in before makeup, and it kind of acts like a moisturizer and a primer in one. Apply a really nice thick layer of this and just give it time to soak into the skin, hydrate the skin, and then you can remove any of the excess product. If you apply too much and you don't let the layers settle first, your makeup can just pill once you apply it on top. It'll just rub away, and it just adds the most beautiful thick layer of moisture. So nice. Now for my base, I'm gonna go in with a McGrath Labs. This is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation. This one's beautiful because it kind of starts out as light to medium coverage, but then you can really build it up. So I always start with some product, some foundation or skin tint, a base product, just to even everything out, no matter what I'm doing. Always try to remember to give this one a shake. I take a pump into the palm of my hand, and by applying it into the palm of your hand and kind of rubbing it up a little bit, it just kind of warms up the product, and I just blot it onto my skin. And I'm just kind of focusing it in the center of my face and around the edges of my face where I have the most discoloration and redness. I'm just applying it with my fingers first, give that a minute to soak in. And then I'm gonna pull out my little Tanielle Jai brush set, which just has you covered for all of the brushes. Number one, the base brush. Take a little bit of extra product from my hand, and I'm just gonna go through and buff all of that in, and it's just gonna push the product into the skin. And this foundation just leaves the most beautiful, natural finish. It is completely undetectable, and especially if you have a good shade match, it will truly be like you woke up like this. Now a little bit goes a long way with this foundation, but again, you can build up the coverage if you need it, but I do like to just start with one light wash, and it just looks like your skin. So now that we've evened out everything all over the face, we want to add a little bit of dimension back in. So I'm going to go in with a cream bronzer. This is the Tanielle Jai Bronzour Sun-Kissed Sculpt Cream. I got this in the shade Ice Latte. Love this packaging. It looks so sleek and beautiful. A great tip if you don't want to go overboard on cream bronzers and contour products is to just take the product out and also rub it into the palm of your hand and remove any excess product. And then you can go in with your brush and just buff that into the skin. And starting out with light layers will give it the most natural feeling. So I'm gonna take this along the perimeter of my face, starting on the forehead, just where the sun naturally hits. I'm gonna take it a little bit on the tops of the cheeks. This is such a pretty product. The shade, oh, stunning. I'm also using the number 3 brush. This is the Creme Buffer Brush. I always like to take a little bit down my nose as well. Now, if you're really skilled, you can go ahead and do some proper contouring. I just kind of rub it around the top, and I will define it later with concealer just to make sure that I'm getting some of the warmth on there. You can also take it a little bit onto your eyelids if you want it to just all blend in so naturally and seamlessly. And then don't forget the jawline. Really nicely chisel that out and define that jaw. So now I'm gonna go in with concealer, and I'm gonna use this to highlight the inner parts of my face, and I'm also just gonna spot conceal a few of my more angry spots that are still remaining. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Concealer. This is a gorgeous option if you love that natural makeup. This is completely undetectable on the skin, really beautiful natural finish. And I'm just gonna start by applying that on the inner corners of my eyes. I'm also using a shade that's a little bit lighter too, just to brighten up. And I don't wanna go too heavy-handed with this. We have such a nice natural light base, but my chin is always a little extra red. Got redness around my mouth, so I'm just gonna brighten up around there. Do a little lift under the eye, on my nose, and then just this inner portion of my forehead. Listen, the bags under my eyes be popping, so really wanna make sure we get some brightness under there. Now there's a couple of ways that I like to blend out my concealer. Sometimes if I'm just being really quick with it, I can just go in with my foundation brush, and I'll just use that to buff in the larger spots, like on my forehead and my chin. But for under my eyes especially, I really want to use a smaller brush. Sometimes if I go in with this, your concealer can kind of get everywhere. So especially because I'm using a lighter concealer, I'm just gonna take a smaller brush. This is the number 2 concealer brush, and just really gently pat that in where I want it to be, just keeping it into that focused area. Going between the brush and my finger again, just to push that into the skin. And then we're keeping it to the places where we want the product to stay. We're not disturbing the rest of the makeup anywhere else. And I'm just keeping the concealer to the center line of my nose, where I will just kind of brighten where I want it to brighten. Does it make my nose look chiseled? I hope so. You can always go back in with your big foundation brush to buff in any of the layers, push it in, and make sure that there's no lines and everything is seamless. This base is like one of the best bases I've ever had. So nice. Now before I go in and set with powders, I like to use my setting spray just to let this have a minute to sit and soak in. So I'm gonna spray this Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. This is amazing if you want your makeup to last all day long. I'm just gonna fan that in, let it soak in and have a minute. Let's actually go ahead and do a little bit of lip liner. I know this might seem a bit backwards, but sometimes putting a lip liner on just kind of brings a little bit of life back to my lips, and it helps me determine what else I want to do for my face, especially when I'm doing everyday makeup. So this is the Tower 28 Multi-Liner in the shade Work of Art. It's a beautiful neutral pencil, and I'm just gonna use that to bring some pigment back to my lips. And I just do a little bit of shading on the inside, and then you can either take your finger or a brush to just blend that into the lip to give a much more natural look. Let's go ahead and use some setting powder. This is the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. I like to use this with a little brush and just tap the excess off again on the palm of my hand, just to make sure that we're going in with really nice light layers. And I just like a little bit of powder, especially when I'm doing my everyday makeup. I'm not trying to go too glam. I just want to make sure that I'm setting in where pretty much wherever you place the concealer, just so it doesn't budge throughout the day and I don't get any unwanted shine. So I'm pretty much just focusing this through the center of the face. And then I'm going to go in with a little layer of powder bronzer. This is one of my favorite products of all time. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. This is a powder bronzer and a highlighter in one. So we're going to use this powder bronzer and just do a light little dusting of this to set the outer parts of my face while also adding another extra layer of glow. Love this color on the eyes as well. It is so pretty. It's a great tip. If you don't want to use any other eye products, you can just go in with your bronzer and highlight, and also your blush if you felt like it. And that's the easiest way to have the most natural looking everyday makeup for your eyes. Now speaking of eyes, truly the mother of all eyeshadow palettes, and this is the McGrath Labs Mothership palette. Look at the beautiful shades in here. If I want to amp it up a little bit, I'll use some really nice light matte brown shades like these two here. And if I wanted to really spice it up for every day, you can always go in with a little shimmer. So I'm going to start with this very light brown. I'm just going to focus that on the outer half of my eyelid and just use the shadow to define it a little bit more. Maybe you want to have a little everyday natural glam. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You can just blend this into the crease, focus it along the lash line depending on where you like to have some extra definition. Then I'm going to take this number 9 little smudger brush, and I'm going to take that deeper brown and just use this to create a faux liner. I love to do this with eyeshadow because I think it's so much softer and more natural looking than using a liquid liner, especially for my everyday makeup. So I'm just focusing that on my outer lash line and then just doing a little lift. The hardest part is trying to get it even on both sides. I have wing blindness, and if you have a lighter skin tone and black just feels a little bit too intense, using browns like this is such a nice way to get that same definition. You could also take a little bit of that on the lower lash line, nothing too crazy. And then just go back in with that fluffy blending brush and just blend around the edges. Soften the tip of that little fake liner, and it gives such a beautiful lived-in feel to the eyes. Okay, now the pièce de résistance. We'll take a little bit of the shimmer here. Pat McGrath really does such a beautiful job with these shimmers. I'm just gonna focus that on the center of the lid to bring a little bit of brightness and underneath the brow bone. And if you wanted to, you could also take a little brush and just put that right on the inside of the inner corner. Just a teeny little bit. All right, I'm gonna finish off the eyes with one of my favorite mascaras ever. This is the Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. It gives the most beautiful soft volume for every day. It's really lifting on the lashes, and the bristles really separate each lash so nicely. I'm gonna set the brows in using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze Gel. This one holds your brow hairs like glue. If you have unruly brows and you want them to sit and stay in place all day, you must try this brow gel. I like to have a more feathery, lifted looking brow, so I try to bring them up and shoot them into the heavens. I'm gonna finish off the look with the Charlotte Tilbury Lip and Cheek Glow in the shade Color of Passions. Now they've since brought out a few more shades of these, and Revolve Beauty has them all, but the Color of Passions is my favorite one of all time. I always pull it out when it comes to the fall and winter season. It just makes me feel like my face is naturally flushed from a cold, crispy winter day. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this and I'm gonna pat it onto my cheeks, just right at the top here. It can be very intense, so be sure to use a light hand. And I'm also gonna pat it onto my lips. I love any multitasking product, so something that I can use for my cheeks and my lips, and especially do so and touch up throughout the day. It's so pretty. I'm gonna go back with the Creme buffer brush and just use that to push this into the skin and just melts everything together. Are you guys seeing this blush? It is such a gorgeous, gorgeous product on the cheeks. You can always take your brush after and just whoop, pat a little bit onto the nose as well. It is such a gorgeous color. I love it, I love it. Now, if we wanted to, we can go back into the Film Star Bronze and Glow and just take a little bit of the highlight. Use this on a small eyeshadow brush to be very nice and precise with it to highlight the very tops of the cheeks. Again, it's not necessary, but if you really want to amp up the glow, don't skip this step. Just take a little bit on the nose as well, and voila. This is the finished look. This is my everyday makeup routine for winter using all products found on Revolve Beauty. If you wanted to shop any of the products that I have used in today's video, you can check them out in the description box down below. And don't forget to subscribe to Revolve here on YouTube. And you can find me at Allana everywhere. Thank you so much for getting ready with me today. I hope you enjoyed this look, and I'll see you next time. Bye!